Welcome to the Defense and Aerospace Report. I'm Vaga Muradian here in Doha, Qatar, where we are covering the Doha International Maritime Defense Exhibition and Conference, DIMDEX 2018. Our coverage here is sponsored by DIMDEX 2018, and we have with us one of the key folks here at this show, Brigadier General Tariq Al-Obaidli, who is the head of the International Military Cooperation Authority, and probably one of the highest demand people here at this show, sir. Thanks very much for taking time with us.
Thank you.
Question number one, you've got so many international delegations, a lot of international contractors, you're in the business of military cooperation. How does DIMDEX fit into your military cooperation agenda, strategy? How important a piece is this show in what you're trying to achieve for Qatar?
DIMDEX is a part of our achievement. DIMDEX has been there for, this is the 6th edition of DIMDEX, 12 years. So DIMDEX is only one cycle of the achievement of the state of Qatar try to achieve in all aspects, in terms of hard power or soft power. DIMDEX is a part of the military engagement that we engage the rest of the world. There are many delegations, there are many chief of staff, and there are many ministers this time. DIMDEX this 2018 is bigger than 2016 and 2014 by a massive size. And how it fits that state of Qatar Armed Forces is looking into the future. We have a clear objectives, we have a clear plan, we have clear initiatives, and DIMDEX is a part of the initiatives of the future of the state of Qatar and the Qatar Armed Forces.
And what are your top cooperative priorities?
There are many. We cannot define one, in terms of Air Force, land, Navy, Special Forces.
Well, let's talk about, let's say, for example, what's the top air, top land, top sea, top Special Forces priorities?
In the air domain, Qatar is, signed a lot of many contracts in the Air Force. In terms, we purchased the F-15, Rafale, Typhoon, Apache, Patriot, and other things that in the way. And there are other things that we don't mention. In the land, Qatar purchased the best tank in the world, the German one. And we are purchasing another armor vehicles from different nationalities in a joint venture that the state of Qatar will build and will manufacture their armor vehicles, the advanced armor vehicle, very highly technology armor vehicle for the future. In terms of the sea, we have signed with Fincantieri of Italy a huge contract, the biggest ever, 4 corvettes, landing LPD, it's like small aircraft carriers and a lot of missile boats. And the coastal defense batteries for defending the coastal defense. The coastal defense battery is actually the only strategic system that exists with the state of Qatar and not with any nation in the region or almost in the world. Qatar have highlighted that the importance of the coastal defense batteries early 80s, and we maintain that capability. And now we just signed a new contract with MBDA for a better and highly advanced and longer range coastal defense capability.
How has the blockade affected your strategic planning and your cooperative planning?
Qatar has a huge interest in strategic planning before the blockade. Started a long time ago. If you can mention almost 2012, 2014, we have all our strategic planning done. The blockade was only a part of our strategic planning. We knew that this something would happen, and because if we plan very early on that we know that such a thing will happen, so actually it didn't stop any cycle, it didn't stop any process, it doesn't stop our development plan, it didn't stop anything. It just was, for us, we've been patient just to wait for it to happen, and it just happened, and it just to show that we were planning right.
There is a huge Turkish industry contingent here. In fact, we're at the Thais shipbuilding stand. They've been generous enough to give us a little bit of space to conduct this interview. How important is the strategic relationship between Qatar and Turkey?
I would like to speak not about Turkey first, but I will speak with Turkey. Turkey has been with us as a partner and strategic partner, and more than a strategic partner for the last few years and for the future. Qatar and Turkey share a lot of common understanding in terms of policies, strategies, concepts, and doctrine. And that's why we see that Turkey and Qatar, we are planning the same plan, and we also have the same goals. And that's why Qatar and Turkey get along in the last few years, and inshallah will get along in the future. Also, we are signing some contracts now with Turkey of different manufacturing of Turkey, and we are looking into another opportunities. But Qatar always maintain a good relation, not with Turkey. Qatar maintain a good relation with the whole world. Even before the crisis happened, we are the only country have a great relation with everyone, and we still maintain a good relation with everyone. In this DIMDEX, we have over 16 Minister of Defense, we have over 16 Chief of Staff, and we have a huge number of Chief of Navies and delegates coming, and a number of participation. Qatar never ever, as long as I remember in my lifetime, that didn't have a great relations with anyone.
Talk to us a little bit about, let me re-ask the question. Obviously, since the blockade, when Saudi Arabia and its allies, United Arab Emirates among them, imposed, there was a lot of cooperation, especially including at the Gulf Cooperation Council, that stopped. The representatives from many of the countries were withdrawn from the Coalition Air Operations Center. Now the Saudi representative is back at the KAOC. From your standpoint, is there any cooperation, back-channel discussion with all the folks that you used to cooperate with before this crisis started?
The crisis, when it happens, they have pulled their officers. We didn't. You know, our officers in Bahrain, they were there until they tell our officers to pull from Bahrain. We still have people in GCC in Riyadh, in the headquarters of GCC. We still have people in the Gulf Shield forces in Saudi Arabia. We have officers in the KAOC from Saudi Arabia and different nationalities. So in general, we didn't stop. They have stopped their relation with us. But we still, Qatar maintained all their financial support to GCC. Qatar maintained all their relation with GCC until as I talk, and even we are participating as observer in the incoming exercise in Saudi Arabia.
So from your standpoint, you're continuing, from your standpoint, to live up to your side of those agreements?
I think His Highness have stated very clearly in a TV interview that if they come to us, we will come to them. But we didn't stop going to them, and we are trying to maintain our responsibilities, duties, mission in the GCC as a GCC member.
So does that mean that from your standpoint you still have a dialogue with these countries in order to maybe help resolve the crisis?
The dialogue has been discussed in a very high level in the state of Qatar from His Highness and Deputy Prime Minister, Minister of Foreign Affairs, and the government. The dialogue is there. Qatar always maintain a good relation with Kuwait and supporting the Sheikh of Kuwait, Sheikh Sabah, in his effort to resolve the situation. So we didn't stop, at all.
Let me ask you what might seem to be an unusual question. A few years ago, because I traveled a lot in the region, Qatar was one of the few nations in the region that had at least a back-channel relationship, for example, with Israel. There were a series of dialogues that happened in the country that were unprecedented. I remember actually being in the Emirates and watching Shimon Peres debating and talking issues of, regional issues. Now there seems to have been sort of a strategic shift where Israel is actually in an alliance with the Saudis and the Emiratis looking at the Iranian threat. How would you characterize your relationship now with Israel, for example?
As has stated by many officials from the state of Qatar, when Qatar have a relation with Israel, we didn't do it in the back doors. We do it clearly in the front of everyone. Everyone knows that we have an office. Everyone we know we talk to Israel. So we didn't do it in the back doors. Qatar was always crystal clear about its policies, international relation, and international engagement. Qatar never work, in the back doors. So our relation with Israel at that time, it was, for a certain reason that the government decided to do it, and there was for sure a lot of reasons at that time, at that situation, or those years that the state of Qatar decided to do this. Israel pulled. Qatar still we exist. and the relation with Israel or without Israel, state of Qatar always maintain, as I stated, a good relation with the rest of the world, although Israel or not Israel.
I should maybe restate it. I shouldn't say alliance, but alignment of interests looking at Iran. One of the reasons for the blockade is Qatar's relationship with Iran, according to the countries that have a problem with Qatar. From your standpoint, what is the Qatari view of Iran? Is it a cooperative partner? Is it a dialogue partner? Is it a neighbor? How do you characterize the relationship with Iran?
Iran, if you have the name of Iran, it just exists lately. Iran is Persia. Persia been there for thousands and thousands of years, and Persia will remain there. So Iran is there. Okay, we cannot eliminate Iran from the geographical positions that Iran have. Okay, we exist also before Iran. And that's why the relation with Iran or without Iran. Other countries around us, they have a great relation with Iran, but the state of Qatar never mentioned the relation with the others. Iran been there for hundreds and hundreds of years. We share the same gas field, we share the same waters. The distance between Qatar and Iran is less than 6 hours by ship. We maintain in the last decades, Iran always supply us with a lot of goods and a lot of vegetables and a lot of things that during the last 33 or 4 decades, Qatar and Iran maintain a good relation together. How we perceive Iran, it depends on Iran.
Looking into the future, how do you see a resolution to the blockade crisis with your neighbors? That's the first question. Because from their standpoint, you're a sponsor of terrorism, you meddle in internal actions, and so their view is that's the reason why we had to punish Qatar. So how do you answer that, and what do you see next in the relationship? And second, as you look at the strategic long-term for your cooperation agenda, whether looking out 5 or 10 years, what do you see?
First of all, I never responded to whatever anyone said about the state of Qatar. State of Qatar is bigger, and we see ourselves higher than the people who claim what we are. Dimdex, as you see, there are many, many flags, represent almost 38 nationalities working with us, living with us. We have many countries living with us and many nationalities. So in terms of how we see this will resolve, we are not looking for an answer now, but Qatar is moving ahead. We are in a very fast train in Qatar, and we don't look sideways. We are looking just to our goals and to our concepts and to the objectives that we want to build. Especially that His Highness have highlighted 2030, the armed forces have highlighted 2040 initiative, the state of Qatar have a 2030. So we have a huge goals in front of us. So we will not look into what the people say about us or what the people mention about us. We are really targeting our goals, process, future, development, and we will not look to what the people say about us. Actually, we don't have time to look to the people that talk about us. In terms of the future, how we see the future, for us the future is challenging. The future have a lot of threats, a lot of adversaries, but that's why we are working very hard in Qatar, day and night. We are a very young nation with a very young leaders, with a very young people around us working with us, and we look to the future. Don't think that young people, they don't have a dream. We have a huge dream, and our dream to be in that future much better than we are in the current time.
Sir, thanks very much. Best of luck. We really appreciate it and look forward to continuing the dialogue with you.
Inshallah, we meet again, and you are welcome anytime. Thank you.
Shukran.